Hello and welcome to Lifelong Learning on Location. I'm Ann Hansen and I'll be your host today as we go on location at Western Nevada College. With me are a group of great people from Western Nevada College. To my immediate left is Josh Pierce, a student. Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Thanks very much.
Yes, and also to my immediate left is Lori Teedy, the Director of Financial Assistance. Welcome.
Thank you.
And at my far left is Deb Case, the Director of Counseling Services. Welcome, Deb.
Thanks, Ann.
It's nice to have you all here. And we have a lot to talk about because, believe it or not, midway through the semester, it's time to start planning for the next semester, isn't it?
Yeah.
So these are folks who are in key departments that help students to prepare for classes. And Josh, of course, is a current student, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and what are you studying?
I'm local to Carson City. I'm training, pre-nursing is what I'm doing now, trying to get into nursing school. A factor to that was I was in construction and the economy slowed down, the housing market slowed down, and it was time to move on. And
so you came to college to get new skills and start a new career?
Yep.
And Lori, you're from financial assistance, which means your office is very important to a lot of students, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And tell us a little bit about what you do for students.
Basically, I administer programs such as loans, scholarships, grants, Veterans Affairs, and student employment.
And that's a big deal for a lot of students.
I think a lot of students couldn't go to school without assistance.
I'm sure you're right. Mm-hmm. And Deb, you are one of the key departments that help students to be successful.
Oh, well, thank you. We work with new students when they first come to college, take their placement tests with us, meet with the counselor. We tell them about classes that they might want to take, talk about different degree programs and certificates they might be interested in, kind of get them started on the right track.
Now, both of your offices serve students throughout Western's very large 7-county service area, don't they?
That's correct.
And do you both have outreach into the communities? How do you handle that?
Well, we have actually academic counselors who also are very knowledgeable with financial assistance programs, and they help us to provide information and filling out application forms and so forth at the other campuses, as well as we go into the community for high school nights and parent nights and, of course, our Bridge to Success program.
How about as counseling?
And in counseling as well. We have counselors at the Fallon campus and the Douglas campus to help students with all of those kinds of concerns that I mentioned before. And the Bridge to Success program that Lori just mentioned, we go out to all of the local high schools and help high school students who are interested in going to Western the following fall semester go through the entire process of filling out an application, meeting with a counselor, selecting classes, taking placement tests. So we do all of that for students at the high school sites.
Both important on that roadmap to getting to where you want to be. Josh, now, when you came to Western, first of all, how did you come to Western? How did you choose Western? And how did these folks like these help you?
Mainly chose Western because it was local, of course, but my experience was I was helped through the whole process by counselors and financial aid. I even thought it was interesting that they would leave one department and go into another and help me.
So they would kind of escort you from one to the next.
Oh, yeah. I'm used to those places that are next, and this place wasn't like that. They helped me one step along the way. I came here not knowing anything about school, and I didn't need to know anything. I got helped all the way.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Were you able to utilize online services through what you've been doing?
So up to now, I've used online services just to get into the classes and use the web registration for those particular things.
And do you find it easy to do?
Yeah, very, very easy.
I know that online has to be part of your services when you're dealing with 18,000 square miles, the size of some New England states, with small staffs. Tell us how you utilize online services to help students.
Go ahead.
Well, for new students, on our website, on the home page, we have a new student button, and all they need to do is click on the button, and it takes them to our checklist for success, and then they can just follow along mentally, so that's great, I think. Of course, students register online, and that makes the registration process smooth and easy for students. Students can look at the class schedule online. I even answer emails that when students have questions about classes or degree programs or transfer questions, they'll email me and I'll respond to students through email, as do other counselors.
So you're doing online counseling too?
Exactly, yeah.
That's wonderful, and it's really required in a spread out area like Northern Nevada, isn't it?
I think it helps students a lot.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Lori?
Well, the free application for federal student aid is required in order to get financial aid such as grants and loans and so forth. And so students fill that out online, and if they're uncomfortable filling it out on their own, they can come into one of the campuses and be assisted with that, or they can call in and we can walk them through it over the phone. There's quite a few ways to help them through that process as they start looking for financial aid. Our scholarship application is also available online, as are our job announcements for student employment jobs.
Now, Western has a very interesting system that I think is very beneficial for scholarships. They don't have to do a lot of different applications, do they?
No, it's one application, and it asks a lot of different types of questions, and we use that application to select all scholarships that we have available.
And there are many. Can you give some examples? Are there dozens or hundreds, or
There's over 100, probably almost 200 different scholarships, and they range from people who have donated in memory of loved ones and have specific criteria, perhaps teaching or education, nursing or welding. There's those types of scholarships.
So there's program specific?
There's program specific, and then there's some very general that are open to anybody, and some part-time scholarships and also single parent scholarships.
And would they also be at different levels of grade attainment, if you will? Some require a really high GPA and others don't?
No, not really. There are a few that would require, say, a 3.0 or above, but which is a B, or possibly a 3.0 out of high school. But those are not as common. There are specific ones in which you have to be actually accepted to the nursing program in order to receive those, and those already have fairly high criteria to be accepted. So that's where the rigor would come in.
But a lot of them then are open to really most students.
Right.
Which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have to have financial aid or get to have financial aid with your college?
I get to have financial aid. It's helped out tremendously. My work has been cut more than in half since I'm going to school, and that's what gets me through. It'll be worth it in the long run if I stick it out.
Oh, I hope you do. Now, but you are working.
Yeah, I work here at the school. Actually, I was helped from the staff at the school. It was heard that I was getting laid off even more than I already had, and again, the dean of students left his office, took me into another part of the school, and asked the lady if she needed some help around her office. She said yeah, and they've been finding things for me to do 16 hours a week ever since.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you getting any new job skills?
I get to mess around on the computer a little bit more, which is something I didn't get to do in the past. Having come from construction, it's more building things, and now I'm working with other people.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very different skills, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Deb, you mentioned the checklist to success. Mm-hmm. I know that counseling has a lot of programs that really are geared toward helping students succeed, from orientations to this checklist. Can you kind of walk students through that, somebody who might be thinking about college and just doesn't know what it takes?
To get started?
Yes.
Really, to get started, come into counseling. I think that's probably my best suggestion.
Would you just walk in, or would you get an appointment?
Either. So students can make an appointment, or they can walk in. Usually if they walk in, they only have to wait for a few minutes and they'll be able to see a counselor. But that way we can ask them about what they're interested in doing. If they have transfer credit from another college, we can take a look at their transcripts, talk about different degree programs. If they haven't taken the SAT or the ACT test, and they take our placement exam, so we know where to start them off in English and in math. We just kind of get them on the right track. And so as long as they just come on through the door, we can help them.
Now, there's no cost to see a counselor, is there?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, some people might not know. And even if somebody was a high school graduate and they weren't sure if they were going to attend Western, would you advise them to still come and visit?
Oh, absolutely. They can come in and talk to us, and we'd be glad to help them out.
And if they do the FAFSA, Lori, they could attend any college or university, right?
That's correct. They can list up to 6 colleges on the FAFSA itself, and their information will go to all of those colleges.
And I think it's possible that sometimes people think, oh, I haven't decided where I want to go, so I can't start yet. But what you're saying is there's a whole lot you can do before you know what you want to do or where you want to go. And it actually might be a deterrent if you don't, mightn't it? Because there's a limited number of amount of financial aid.
Well, for federal funds, that's unlimited. If you're eligible for federal funds, you'll be entitled to have the federal grants or loans, etc. We do have pots of money that are state-funded or perhaps institutional fee-generated funds that do run out. So they're awarded early in the process, and it's basically first come, first served to those with the most financial need. And then perhaps students who have applied to a lot of schools decide that they don't want to come to Western in the fall, then if they had one of those institutional funds or grants, we reallocate that to other students who are enrolled.
Mm-hmm. And so what would you tell students that are thinking, I just can't afford to go to college?
Apply for financial assistance, and if you're not sure that you're qualified for something, or if you think that you can't go based on the financial aid package that you've received, come into our office and discuss it with me.
There's always perhaps an opportunity.
There's an opportunity or a waiting list. Perhaps I take names of students who need more funds, who have gone through the process and have got their application in.
Is there funding available for child care?
The Fallon campus has a specific grant fund that does help with child care expenses. And I believe at the Carson campus, the Child Care Center has some discounted tuition for students, but I'm not familiar with that program.
But can the financial aid be used for that? Is there any portion
financial
of it that
aid,
can be
we
used?
can add a portion of funds to the student's budget if they come in and document that they have child care.
So really, you're kind of flexible. I mean, you can try to help meet whatever those needs are for that student.
That's correct. We can also add budget funds for computers. If a student needs to buy a computer and brings us a receipt, we can add that to their budget so they can possibly get more funds.
Now, Deb, you mentioned kind of testing to see what you're interested in. Tell us a little bit more about that. What might someone who says, I just don't know what I'm good at, like, you were changing careers.
Yeah.
How do you figure out what you want to go into?
Well, we have 2 different assessments that students can take. We have the Myers-Briggs, which is a personality type inventory, and we also offer the Strong Interest Inventory. So if students are interested in doing that, they can take those 2 different assessments, and that gives us a profile of their personality and their specific interests as they relate to different occupational areas. And so from there, we can talk with the student and find out what correlates with with how they feel about themselves, and then tie that to different majors that they might want to pursue. So a lot of people who do that report that that's helped them a lot. Just kind of give them a sense of direction. It's a jumping off point, and then they kind of continue their exploration from there.
So it might say things like, you like to be in a situation where you can communicate with others or help others or work with your hands. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yes, that's exactly right. And everybody, it's pretty widely understood that if you have a job that matches with your innate skills and abilities and interests, you're going to be happier. And so it's valuable for students to do that.
Now, Josh, how did you come to think that maybe healthcare would be an area that you would be interested in?
I took those 2 tests that
you did?
Yeah,
okay.
And it said, helping others, it was clergy, it was a teacher, it was nursing, and the school offered nursing. It seemed like it was just supposed to be that way, and made it really easy for me. That's a hard decision to make. What do I want to do when I don't have any idea? I've been doing construction since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. Of course, you were working with your hands there too, and you'll still be working with your hands. Great.
Made it very simple, and I was, okay, let's just do that.
But you'll also be working with your heart.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, that's a case study in how you can be assisted by some of those inventories, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, totally.
So, and how about when you get to college, what do we do for students along the way to make sure that they stay on track? for whoever wants to start?
Well, from an academic perspective, again, counseling is there to talk with students if they're having any difficulties in their classes as they're going along. There's an academic skills center, which is just a great resource for students. It's free tutoring in a variety of subjects. I've had students in my office say, if it hadn't been for the academic skills center, I never would have passed my math class or chemistry class or whatever. So we have that. We have a peer mentoring program in various classes and for various special populations of students, like first-year nursing students have peer mentors assigned to them to kind of support students supporting other students as they're moving their way through their programs.
And how might they do that?
Well, it depends on the project, but usually the peer mentors assigned to the class or to the student population will meet with students who self-select, who want to meet with the peer mentors. And then the peer mentors not only tutor in the subject area, but also help students navigate the college system, refer them to other resources. If they need information about financial aid, they'll refer them down to the financial aid officer, walk them down there, or maybe to counseling, or if they have a question about how to pay their tuition, they'll take them over to the cashier's office and just sort of mentor them, support them, kind of connect with them. And we know that that sense of being connected and being engaged really helps students be successful and continue to complete their goals. And
very good. Now, I know, Josh, you're doing peer mentoring, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm peer mentoring.
And tell us about the experience. What do you specifically do? She talked in generalities.
She said it pretty well. I understand the tools that the school has for students that maybe a student might not understand, that there's the Academic Skills Center. I'm here 2 days a week for 8 hours a day for any walk-ins that might need any help.
In the nursing area or in another area?
In any area, especially where we're at would be even time management, study skills, and if there's anything that I couldn't help someone with, it's all about pointing them in the right direction.
So you're a real facilitator.
Yeah.
And so, talking about time management, what are some tricks that you could tell our viewers about time management when you're in school?
Most part for me, and what I've seen so far, is that people, when they have free time, they consider it free time instead of utilizing it to study. If your day's broken up into a lot of different areas, it's hard to find a good block of time. It's good to consolidate things that you have to do and have free time where you can get into your books and do your homework and studying.
So maybe schedule that time.
Yeah.
Now, there are also some classes that help students with college success, aren't there?
Yeah, college success class. It's called CAPS 122, and that class is great. It really teaches students what they need to know about how to be successful in the college environment. And it's not a developmental level class at all. It transfers as 3 credits, transferable credit to a 4-year school. And any student, I think, can get a lot of value from taking a CAPS class. So in that class, they talk about time management, they talk about organization, procrastination busting techniques, I think is
guilty.
is the way that's phrased. So they talk about that. Learning styles. So students find out what their own individual learning style is and how to use that. And study skills. So they go over note-taking. Members, something that most students don't know when they first start at a college. You know, it really is okay to meet with faculty during their office hours. You know, they're really approachable. Don't be afraid of them.
You don't have to be in trouble.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. And so it really lays a nice foundation for students when they start, so they know what's going on.
You know, I keep thinking that I didn't have anything like that. I don't know if you did, but I think, boy, that would have been so useful. I remember the trepidation in some of the classes, thinking, you know, I want to ask, but I shouldn't or won't. And it would help students to get over some of those fears, wouldn't it?
Yes, I really think it does.
Now, Lori, from financial aid, I mean, you have a lot of rules that you have to adhere to in terms of making sure students do complete classes and things. Explain what you do to kind of help keep students on track in terms of keeping their funding.
Well, basically, we try to inform them up front of exactly what they need to do to maintain their financial aid eligibility. And if someone comes in and says, you know, I really need to drop this class, how's it going to affect my financial aid? we do try to say, not only whether it will or will not affect their financial aid, but try to redirect them maybe to the Academic Skills Center or to the counseling services to see if there could be some other answer. You never know why students are going to leave school or drop a class, but we do try to redirect folks in order to help them out. The other thing with financial assistance that I want to mention is that if you haven't applied by the beginning of the semester, it's not too late. You can still apply later on in the semester if you suddenly find yourself in a situation where you need funds.
So there are options throughout the semester.
That's correct.
And I know that sometimes folks who are working adults maybe think, well, we have 2 incomes, I won't be eligible for anything. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that low-interest student loans are an option for them. It's not an option that we promote, but because we wouldn't encourage anybody to go into debt. But if you want an education and you're going to put it on a credit card, the better alternative is definitely a student loan. Your payments are deferred as long as you're in school. It's low interest right now at 6.8%. And for somebody who does have a little bit higher income, it doesn't mean that you cannot get aid. You can actually get financial assistance in the form of student loans.
And there is some non-need-based aid available, isn't there?
Right. We have what we call unsubsidized loans, in which the interest accrues immediately as you take out the loan, and that would be our non-need-based financial assistance. We also have student employment positions that are not funded through the state or federal work programs and are actually from campus funds, and so students can work on campus and earn as they go, and doesn't create any additional debt and creates a connection to the campus.
And there's a value in working on campus, isn't there?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Instead of off campus. What has it been for you?
I even get a study sometimes, but it keeps me well integrated in the school. The counselor that I was working with says it ups your chances of sticking it out and going all the way through your education by being surrounded, kind of like in the middle of the herd. You don't drop off the outsides of the circle.
Exactly. And I know that by rule, you can't be scheduled to work on campus when you have a class schedule, right?
Right.
And of course, outside employers just might not adhere to that. Makes it a little stickier.
That's a pretty strict rule that we have. If you're supposed to be in class, unless your class has been canceled and you have a note to that effect, then you cannot work during class time.
Which is great for students. I mean, it takes a lot of guilt off of them, if you will. Not having to worry, how am I going to get off for this class, et cetera.
And working on campus is very convenient for students. You can go work a couple hours, then go to class, maybe go back and work an hour or two, and then go back to class, depending on your schedule.
And you make up a really good point, both of you, about learning communities. And I just saw some data to show that students who get involved in a learning community, even at this school, do much, much better. They complete their classes at a higher rate. What were some of the groups different types of learning communities did better by being part of a group, didn't they?
I think our athletic teams are a good example of that. Both the soccer team and the baseball team have very good academic records. And I think part of that is because they are part of a kind of concentrated group, and they support each other, and the coaches support them, and it makes a really big difference. I think the nursing students are maybe another example of that. So the first-year nursing students all take the same classes. They all work together. They have study groups. They're supported by the second-year nursing students who understand what they're going through, the first-year students. It just really helps. It helps from an academic perspective, and also from a just feeling supported and connected perspective.
Absolutely, and I know the Millennium Scholars as a group tend to do better. They're highly motivated. The Police Academy, another learning community that tends to do better. It kind of reinforces what you're saying, that when people get connected to their school and when they get connected to their peers, they'll be more successful, won't they?
I think student government might be another
student government, just getting involved.
Exactly.
And I know Western's done a lot to try to get more students involved on campus. And what's your impression of the college as a place for students, for young students to come?
I've never been around a more helpful environment where I think the deal here, at least from what I can see, is that everyone here is here for the students. I think that's kind of evident in the fact of how spread out it is. They want the outside environments to be able to get educations, not show up because you live in Yerington and there's no school for you out there. I've also seen the president talk at she did a speech about the finances here, and they talked about how the community colleges, the ones that were doing successful, were turning down money so that other colleges can get another year to maybe get a foot up. And I think that's great, yeah.
Some of the ones that had more problems in Las Vegas, they were helping.
Yeah. I like that sense that they are sticking together to help out communities.
Well, I think it shows that there's a community environment, and maybe that would appeal to a lot of people who are worried about, is college right for me? Will I be able to make it? I think the answer from you two is that we're going to do everything we can to help you make it, I think.
Absolutely.
Just a little bit about what students should do if they're interested in attending in the spring. What should they do now in the fall?
I think they should get started now. Now would be a good time to get going. First step would be to get online and look at our homepage, kind of browse around a little bit, and apply for admission. It's very easy from the homepage. They just click on the Apply Now button and go ahead and fill out that application, and then come on in and see somebody in counseling, and we'll just lead them through the process. We'll have new student orientations in January, and they can check on the website for the dates and the times. We'll offer 2 of them in Carson, 1 in Fallon and 1 in Douglas. Come to a new student orientation. Those are, I think, very helpful.
What would they gain from one of those?
Really, we talk about issues, the kinds of issues that we've discussed here: time management, how to interact with faculty, and so it's very much from a student perspective. So we have a panel of students in the front, and each student takes a different issue, and they talk about that issue from their own personal perspective. Could be the Academic Skills Center and what kind of value they got from that. Then we break the larger group into smaller groups, and each one of our student panel members is a facilitator for a small group, and within that little environment, then students can really ask their questions, like where's the bookstore, or whatever questions that they have, and they just kind of get a sense of connection and engagement. It sort of, I think, sets the right tone for them, kind of gives them a general understanding of what's going on before they start.
That sounds great. How about you, Lori? What would you tell students to do now if they're thinking of attending in the spring?
Go to the website. WNC website has all the information needed to apply for financial assistance, the links to the free application for federal student aid. They'll need their 2006 tax information, and if they're a dependent student, they would need their parents' information as well. Apply for the PIN number. Get started. If they're not sure or they're nervous about doing it, come into our office or one of the other campuses, and we'll help them. And the earlier the better, the more likely they'll have funds here before school starts.
There is a lag time, isn't there, of a few weeks before you can find out?
It can take up to 45 days depending on if they're selected for a process called verification, in which the federal government requires that we verify their information through tax forms and so forth.
And classes start?
Classes start January 22nd, which is a Tuesday. So that's kind of a heads up.
The day after the Martin Luther King
Exactly.
Day.
Mm-hmm. And new students can begin registering as early as Monday, December 3rd. So November would really be a good time for them to go ahead and get started on the process.
Very good. Mm-hmm. And Josh, in the few seconds we have left, what would you tell a student who's thinking about Western or another college in Northern Nevada?
I like what Lori said about if it seems overwhelming, just come in. And it was so easy, just getting walked through step by step. I felt like I may have been an annoyance at times, but it was clearly that I was just utilizing the help that's involved here. And I don't think you can fail if you ask for the help. They make it really easy for you to succeed here.
Very good. And the WNC website is?
www.wnc.edu.
Very good. I want to thank you all for coming. It's been a really interesting show, and I want to thank you for joining us on Lifelong Learning on Location. I'm Ann Hansen, and we'll see you next time.